Hi, welcome to my bunting tutorial. I'm going to demonstrate how I make this sugar bunting to go on top of a cake. And I'm also going to demonstrate how I make the bunting and set it out on the side of a cake. And then finally, I'm going to show you another topper for the top of a cake, but in a slightly different style. Starting with our first bunting topper, I'm just using 2 paper lolly sticks. These are food safe, so they're perfectly fine to put in your cake. And I'm just setting out the width that I think I would like my topper to be. Now I'm just going to add 3 pieces of bunting, so mine isn't going to be too wide. Then I take some white cotton and I measure it once across, then twice, and then I add a little bit more. So here I've gone approximately 3 times the width that I will need. This is just so it makes it a little easier for me to be able to tie it up, because it makes it quite difficult if the cotton is a little short. So I'm going to double it up now and I'm going to tie a knot in the end. You want to make sure that that knot is nice and secure, because we don't want it coming undone once we've got it tied on the lolly stick. So just give it a tug. Now you can see that the cotton is longer than the width that we need, and that again, as I said, is so we can tie it round easily. So here I am tying it around the top of the stick. So you want to keep this as close to the top as possible and tie it twice to make it nice and firm. Once the first knot is nice and secure on the top of the lolly stick, then you need to repeat this on the other side. You will have some excess of cotton, but we will trim this off later. The structure for our cake bunting topper has been made. All we need to do now is trim off the excess cotton on each side with some scissors. I'm going to cut out some pieces of bunting. For this I'm using modelling paste, or in some places they call it Gumpaste. So I'm cutting out 2 pieces in white. I'm going to cut out 2 pieces in blue and 2 pieces in green, and I'm going to use the pink modelling paste that you can see there just to make some decorations to go on the bunting. Now I know that I said that I'm having 3 pieces of bunting, which we are still having, but for this you will need 6 cutouts. So we now have our 6 cutouts for the bunting, and we also have our cake topper bunting structure. I've placed mine in a styrofoam dummy because I'm not making a cake today. And what we're going to do now is wet the back of each piece of the bunting. So I'm starting with the white, which I'm placing in the middle. Always start in the centre. And we're going to stick them together with just water. I wouldn't use edible glue because this can be quite slippery. If you leave it a little time, it will go sticky, but you can hold it there to secure it. So you want to make sure that it's wet all over. So starting from the centre, I've popped the one with the rose on it, and then I've got a blue piece that I'm placing on one side with a pink bow, and then I'll also be placing a green piece on the opposite side with a pink bow. I prefer to use cotton for this. It's much nicer. It seems to hang down straight rather than when I did use ribbon, and I've made many bunting cake toppers. It is important to have 2 pieces per flag of bunting, and this is to make sure that the weight is distributed evenly on each side of the string. If you was just to have 1 piece on one side, what you would find is the bunting would tip over, and it's also very doubtful that it would stick together. It can be a little fiddly attaching the bunting to the string, so once you've got it on the string you can give it a little tweak with your fingers just to make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. So now we've got the poles with the bunting, and we want to make a couple of fondant balls just to go on top, just to make our sticks look nice and neat. And this will also cover the string that you've got at the top of the sticks. So just roll 2 balls and then just place it on top of the lolly stick. And of course you'll need to do this each side. To make sure that the fondant balls stay nice and secure on the top of each pole, it's worth putting a little bit of water just on the top, so when you place the fondant round it will secure it in place. There, our bunting top has been made. I'm now going to demonstrate how I set out and attach the bunting to the side of a cake. My cake has already been made and it's already been covered in fondant, ready for the bunting to be attached to it. The first thing we're going to do is measure around the outside. And it comes to 57 centimetres. What we need to do is divide that by 4, which works out just over 14 centimetres. So we're going to have our central point. So not to damage the cake, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the pin in the board. So I know that this is my centre. So coming up the middle here, that will be my centre. So what we want to do is hang the loop each side. So it's just over 14, so we will make it approximately 7.1 each side of this central pin. So I'm going to pop a pin in here. So don't put it all the way in, just a little of the way in. And then I'm going to continue round the whole cake. So again, there's our centre. So you just want it around here, just about there. And then we'll continue round. This makes sure that they're nice and even. So here we can go just over 14 now because we've chose our central point at the front. Just make sure they're nice and even, and it keeps your cake very neat and tidy. So again, just over the 14, and I'm going to pop a pin in there. So once you've done that, you can see you'll have 4 equally spaced loops around your cake. The tool we're going to use to make the fondant string is this sugar gum. It's really nice to use. You get 3 discs in the set. You get a small, medium and a large. I'm going to use the medium today. So pop that in the top, screw that on. You need to make it nice and long if you want to go all the way round. If it does break off, don't worry, because we can join it at the top and nobody will notice. I'm going to break that off there. I'm just going to use my smoother to make sure I've got no ridges. Keep it nice and neat. And now we're going to attach it to your cake. So the focus is back on our cake again. So here we have, this is our centre of our cake. That can be removed now because we have our pins nicely set out. So what I'm going to do is put a tiny bit of water at the top of each pin. Here. And that will go nice and sticky. And then I'm going to take the fondant string and I'm going to loop it between, like this. Let's take it round. So depending on what design you're going to have on your cake, depends on whether you want it high or low. So you come round to here, and then all I would do is just remove the pieces that I don't need. Like that. So we've already wet the sections. Top. There. Now, if you want to, you can take a tiny amount of water, and you don't need a lot because we're going to leave the pins on for a while to support it. So if you want to, you can just do a tiny bit in the centre to help keep it on. I have some bunting that I've already cut out, and this will also support the string as it dries. So just a small amount of water or edible glue on the back, and just place it under your bunting loop. So exactly the same again. Always start in the centre and then work each side. There are lots of different designs of bunting out there, so we're just going to show you an alternative. And on this one I've put some lettering. So if you were going to put someone's name on here that required 5 letters, you would always start with the middle letter. So you go 1, I'm just doing ABC. 2, and 3. And then we can just leave that to dry. And once this is fully secure, you can remove the pins. It's really as simple as that. So now your bunting is nice and dry and secure. Just remove the pins. So you can leave them like this, or if you want, you can put a nice bow on there or a button decoration. It's your cake, so it's entirely up to you. I'm now going to demonstrate how to make our third and final bunting topper. This bunting topper has a central pole and it has one each side of the cake. So I've just made a hole in the top of the cake with a small ball tool, and then I'm going to place my first lolly stick in the centre of the cake. Now I need to make sure that this is the height that I would like my pole to be. So don't push it down all the way into the cake, just as far as it needs to go. Now we're going to make the hole for each side, and again I'm doing this with the small end of my ball tool. One on each side, and then I'm going to place a lolly stick in each side, just as I did the top. So just make sure that they're at the same distance apart, because you don't want one twisted round the back and one nearer to the front. So just equal on each side, and then just place the lolly stick into the side of the cake. Again, not all the way down, just to the height that you require it to be. Perfect. We're now going to make the string for our bunting, and we're going to use cotton just like we did before. So we're going to measure it exactly the same. We're going to double it up, and then we're going to add an extra length so we've got some flexibility to tie the knots on each end. So here I am just tying the knot, and then I'm going to place the cotton around the top pole and secure it. And we want the tension on this to be nice and firm, because we don't want our bunting looking saggy. Once that's nice and secure and I'm happy, I'm then going to move down and I'm going to tie a knot on the pole on the left hand side. Remember to make sure that your cotton is nice and firm and that you've got a nice lot of tension there. And then you can just cut the excess off with some scissors. I'm just securing mine again with a second knot. Perfect. As you can see, I've also done the string on the right hand side, and what I've done is rolled balls of yellow fondant and I've stuck them on top of the poles. This will cover the knots at the top, and it will also hold the strings in place nice and firmly once it's dried. For this bunting topper, I've decided to use the smaller bunting, and I've used 2 different style of shapes. I'm also using lots of different colours. Again, you need 2 pieces. One to go each side of the string, and I'm wetting the back of mine with just some water, and I'm going to give it a little time to go sticky before attaching it to the string. I'm going to do this to each of them, and once they're nice and sticky, we're going to place them on the string to make our cake topper. Just as we did before, we're placing 1 piece on each side, and I'm matching the colours, so 2 red pieces, making sure it's nice and secure, and then I'll move on to the next one. And here I'm alternating the colours. And as you can see, I'm also alternating the shapes. So once you have these nice and secure on one side, then what you need to do is move to the other side and start to attach them here as well. I'm just making sure that the colours are nicely distributed down the string because you don't want to sitting together. So just as we did the other topper, you can make any little adjustments that you need to do and just make sure that they're nice and secure so they don't fall off the string. Our third and final bunting topper is now complete. The tool I've used today to make the bunting is the FMM Decorative Bunting Tappits. There's 2 strips in a set, 6 designs across the 2 strips, and they're in 2 different sizes, a small and a large. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration now on how to use them. I've rolled out my modelling paste or gum paste, and I'm going to demonstrate the 2 fan shapes. We have a small and a large, so I place it on top, slide it around my mat, turn it over, and then I'm going to use my finger just to rub over the embossing to make sure we get a nice clear definition. If the paste sticks in, it's because it's too sticky or it's too thick. So I always roll mine out and leave it a little time to dry. And now I'm going to show you the smaller one in the yellow. And they look quite pretty if you attach them on top with some water. You can have the 2 different colours. I've done this around the top of my circus cake, which is another tutorial you can find on my channel. So here you can see me attaching it with some water. I'm just going to demonstrate the further 5 shapes. I'm just going to move through these nice and quickly. So as I said before, a small and a large in each shape, and it's great that you've got some lovely alternatives to have as bunting. I love the light bulbs. They look fantastic on a circus cake, but also great on a Christmas cake too. And then we've got some tassels that look great on all different designs of cakes. And I've also used them for the curtain tie backs. And then we've got the standard bunting shape. It's lovely to have an alternative to the standard bunting shape and is a great addition to your tool set. I love bunting on a cake, and I thought I'd share with you some of my cake designs that I have them on. They're everything from a wedding cake to an adult birthday cake to a children's birthday cake, a cupcake and a baby shower cake. Thank you for watching my tutorial today. If you've enjoyed it, then please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to be kept up to date with further tutorials, then please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.